My girlfriend secretly kissed my rich client, lied to me about working for him, and then left me while I was shocked and heartbroken. It's like lancing a boil, you know? Gross, but necessary. The clatter of tools, the smell of oil and gasoline, the satisfying roar of an engine I'd just coaxed back to life. That was my world. Mark's full-throttle garage, I called it. Corny, maybe, but it was mine. And for a good while, it was ours. Mine and Sarah's. Sarah. God, she was something else. Blonde hair that caught the light like spun gold, eyes the color of a summer sky, and a smile that could make a V8 purr. We met when she brought in her beat-up Civic, clutch gone. I fixed it, we got to talking, and one thing led to another. Pretty soon, she wasn't just my girl. She was the face of the garage, handling the front desk, the accounts, charming the customers. And charm them she did. Guys would find excuses to bring their cars in, just to chat her up. I didn't mind. I trusted her. Hell, I was crazy about her. We were savant up, talking about a little house with a yard, maybe even a dog. The whole 9 yards. Life felt good. Solid. Like a perfectly tuned engine. Then Mr. Sterling rolled in. The first time his Bentley Continental GT, gleaming like a black diamond, rolled into my humble shop, I should have known. Not known what, exactly, but just known. It was out of place, like a supermodel walking into a greasy spoon diner. He was tall, tailored suit that probably cost more than my monthly earnings, silver at the temples, an air of effortless power. Richard Sterling. His name sounded like money. Got a bit of a rattle in the front passenger side, he said, his voice smooth, cultured. Heard you boys do good work. Sarah handled him, of course. Flashed that killer smile, took down his details. I was under a pickup, wrestling with a rusted exhaust manifold. I remember hearing her laugh, a light, tinkling sound. It always made me smile. This time, though, looking back, it felt different. Sharper. He paid cash, a fat tip for Sarah. For your excellent service, my dear, he'd said, his eyes lingering on her a second too long. I brushed it off. Rich guys, right? Used to getting what they want, used to throwing money around. But then the Bentley started developing a lot of problems. A new rattle here, a funny squeak there. Sometimes it was his Mercedes. Then a vintage Jag he apparently owned. Each time, Sarah would deal with him. Each time, the conversation seemed to get a little longer, a little more familiar. He's just a good customer, Mark, she'd say when I'd raise an eyebrow. And he tips really well. Good for business, babe. And it was. The money was good. But something started to feel off. She started dressing up more for work. Nicer blouses, more makeup. Just want to look professional, honey, she'd say, pecking me on the cheek. But her eyes didn't quite meet mine. She started talking about Sterling Consolidated, his company. About the fancy offices downtown, the important people he knew. It was like she was speaking a different language, one I didn't understand, filled with words like acquisitions and portfolios. The late nights at the shop, the ones we used to spend together, or Darren Pizza, Logan over stupid stuff while I finished up a job, they became less frequent. She'd have errands, or she'd be too tired. The easy banter, the shared dreams, they started to fade, replaced by a kind of polite distance. It was like watching a vibrant color slowly leach out of a photograph. I tried to talk to her, really talk. Sarah, what's going on? You seem far away. She'd sigh, that frustrated little sound she made when I didn't get something. Mark, I'm fine. Just a little stressed. This Sterling guy, he's actually been really nice. He's even mentioned. Well, never mind. Mentioned what? I pressed, a cold knot forming in my gut. Nothing, it's silly. Just opportunities. Things I never thought about. The day it all came crashing down, it started like any other. I was elbow deep in a stubborn transmission when Sarah walked in, looking different. Not just the clothes, though she was wearing a new dress, something sleek and expensive looking. It was her face, a kind of brittle excitement, mixed with something I couldn't quite place. Guilt, maybe? She didn't even look at the grease on my hands or the controlled chaos of the workshop. She just stood there, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Mark, I need to tell you something. My heart did a weird little stutter step. Yeah? What's up? I tried to keep my voice light, casual, even though every alarm bell in my head was screaming. Mr. Sterling. Richard, he's offered me a job. I wiped my hands on a rag, slowly. A job? Doing what? Fixing his damn cars full time. I meant it as a joke, but it came out bitter. She didn't crack a smile. No, Mark. A real job. At his company. As an executive assistant. It's a huge opportunity. An executive assistant? I repeated, the words feeling foreign in my mouth. Sarah, you handle invoices and charm customers here. What do you know about being an executive assistant for some big shot CEO? Her eyes flashed. I can learn, Mark. He thinks I have potential. He sees something in me. And honestly, she took a deep breath. I'm tired of smelling like oil and listening to guys complain about their carburetors. I want more. The word more hung in the air between us, heavy and suffocating. More than me? More than our life? So, you're just gonna take it? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. What about the garage? What about us? I am taking it, Mark, she said, and the finality in her tone hit me like a sledgehammer. It wasn't a discussion, it was an announcement. I start Monday. I can help you find someone to cover the front, of course. But this is what I want. This is what I need. There was no what do you think? No, should we talk about this? Just that. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. The garage, our garage, suddenly felt cold and empty, even though she was still standing right there. So, that's it, then, I said, feeling a numbness spread through me. You've made up your mind. Yes, she said, her chin tilted up, a strange mix of defiance and something else. Regret? No, not quite. It was almost like relief. The next few days were a blur. She moved with a frantic energy, buying new clothes, talking on the phone in hushed tones. I walked around in a daze, trying to keep the garage running, trying to process what was happening. It felt like my whole life was being dismantled, piece by piece, and I was powerless to stop it. She found a temp to cover the desk, a woman named Mrs. Henderson who was efficient but had all the warmth of a tax auditor. The shop felt hollow. Sarah's laughter was gone. Her scent, that vanilla and something floral I loved, was replaced by the stale smell of old coffee and Mrs. Henderson's rosewater perfume. Sarah moved out a week later. It's just easier this way, Mark, she'd said, avoiding my eyes. Commuting from here. And, well, we need some space. She didn't move far, just a small apartment downtown, closer to Sterling Consolidated. Closer to him. I didn't say much. What was there to say? She was already gone, in all the ways that mattered. The loneliness was a physical ache. I'd come home to our empty apartment, my empty apartment now, and the silence would be deafening. Her side of the closet was bare. Her mug wasn't next to mine by the coffee maker. Little things stabbed in me like tiny knives. I threw myself into work, long hours, greasy hands, anything to keep the thoughts at bay. But at night, they'd come flooding back. Her smile, her touch, the way she used to hum off-key while doing the books. About a month after she left, I had to deliver a custom-ordered alternator to a business park on the other side of town. It was a fancy place, all glass and steel, manicured lawns. As I was pulling out, I saw a familiar black Bentley parked in a reserved spot near the main entrance of a particularly impressive building, Sterling Consolidated. My stomach twisted. I don't know what made me do it. Curiosity? A morbid need to see something, anything? I parked across the street, partly hidden by a delivery van, and I waited. It wasn't long. The main door slid open, and out he came. Richard Sterling, looking every bit the tycoon. And on his arm, Logan up at him, was Sarah. She looked transformed. Her hair was styled differently, sleeker. She wore a sharp, tailored suit, heels that clicked on the pavement. She looked like she belonged there, in that world of power and money. He leaned down, said something in her ear, and she tilted her head back and laughed that bright, tinkling laugh. Then, he bent further, and his lips met hers. It wasn't a peck. It was a full-on, lingering kiss, right there in broad daylight. His hand was on the small of her back, pulling her closer. My breath hitched. The world tilted. It was like watching a movie, a really bad, heartbreaking movie, and I was the chump who didn't see it coming. But I hadn't I? Deep down, I'd known. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. My hand, almost of its own accord, reached for my phone. I fumbled with it, fingers slick with sweat, and hit record. I don't know why. Evidence. Proof for my own sanity. I just knew I had to capture it. This betrayal. They broke apart, still smiling, and he opened the passenger door of the Bentley for her. She slid in, graceful as a cat. He walked around, got in, and the magnificent car purred to life and glided away. I sat there for a long time, the phone still clutched in my hand, the video playing over and over in my mind. The image of them kissing seared onto my retinas. The pain was a white-hot poker in my chest. It wasn't just the kiss. It was everything. The lies, the deception, the casual destruction of what we'd had. That night, when she came by the apartment to pick up a few more of her things, just some odds and ends I forgot, she'd said, all breezy and casual, I was ready. Or as ready as I could be. She was humming as she sorted through a box of books. "How's the garage, Mark? Mrs. Henderson working out okay?" I didn't answer. I just walked over to the TV, plugged in my phone, and hit play. The video filled the screen. Sterling. Sarah. The kiss. The laughter. Her humming stopped. The color drained from her face. She stared at the screen, her mouth slightly open. For a second, just a fleeting second, I saw a flicker of something, panic, shame, in her eyes. But it was gone as quickly as it came. She turned to me, her expression hardening, that brittle confidence back in place. So, what of it? Her casualness, her lack of remorse, it was like another blow. What of it? I echoed, my voice hoarse. Sarah, that's Richard Sterling. Your boss. You told me you left for a job. You didn't tell me you left us for him. She shrugged, a delicate, dismissive gesture. Things change, Mark. People change. Richard, he understands me. He offers me a life you never could. A life I never could. I felt a bitter laugh escape me. You mean a life with more money? Fancier clothes? Is that all it comes down to, Sarah? Was everything we had just practice? Until something better came along. Don't be dramatic, Mark, she said, her voice cool. It wasn't like that. We were good, for a while. But I outgrew it. I outgrew you. Richard sees my potential. He wants to help me achieve it. By sleeping with you? The words were out before I could stop them, raw and ugly. She didn't flinch. Our relationship is more complex than that. And frankly, it's none of your business anymore. She picked up her purse. I think it's best if we just make a clean break. It was over a long time ago, Mark. You just didn't see it. And just like that, she walked out. No tears, no apologies, no looking back. The door clicked shut behind her, and the silence in the apartment was absolute. The days and weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. I felt like a hollowed-out shell. Sleep was a stranger. Food tasted like ash. The garage, my sanctuary, felt like a prison. Every wrench, every oil stain reminded me of her. I'd see couples walking down the street, hand in hand, and a wave of such profound loneliness would hit me. I'd have to stop and catch my breath. My buddies, Dave and Kevin, they tried. They'd drag me out for beers, try to get me to talk. "She's not worth it, man," Dave would say. "You'll find someone better." Easy for them to say. They hadn't built a life with her, dreamt dreams with her, only to have it all ripped away by a rich prick in a fancy suit. I let the garage slide a bit. Missed appointments. Did sloppy work. Mrs. Henderson gave me worried looks, but mostly kept to herself. I knew I was self-destructing, but I couldn't seem to pull out of the nosedive. It was like a part of me had died with Sarah's betrayal, and I didn't know how to bring it back to life. One night, I was sitting in the dark, nursing a whiskey, staring at the damn video on my phone again. Why was I torturing myself? What was the point? And then, something in me just snapped. Not in a violent way, but like a tightly wound spring finally breaking. I was tired. Tired of the pain, tired of the anger, tired of letting her and Sterling live rent-free in my head, wrecking the place. I deleted the video. Just like that. Wiped it from my phone, from my life. It wasn't easy, but it felt necessary. A first step. The next day, I got up, showered, shaved. I went to the garage and started cleaning. Really cleaning. I organized my tools, swept the floors, even washed the grimy windows. Mrs. Henderson looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "Feeling better, Mr. Mark?" she asked, a tentative smile on her face. "Getting there, Mrs. H," I said, and for the first time in months, I almost meant it. It wasn't an overnight fix, not by a long shot. It was a slow, grinding process, like rebuilding a classic car from the chassis up. There were good days and bad days. Days when the ghost of Sarah would whisper in my ear, and the loneliness would threaten to swallow me whole. But there were also days when I'd nail a tricky repair, or a customer would leave happy, and I'd feel a flicker of that old pride, that old satisfaction. I started taking better care of myself. Eating right. Even went for a run a few times, something I hadn't done since high school. I reconnected with Dave and Kevin, actually talked to them, not just grunted monosyllables. About 6 months after the Great Deletion, a cherry-red vintage Mustang pulled into the shop. Sounded like it was misfiring badly. A woman got out, looking flustered. She had dark, curly hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, a smudge of something, paint, maybe, on her cheek, and the most intelligent, intense brown eyes I'd ever seen. "Hi," she said, a little breathless. "My baby, Eleanor, she's not happy. Can you take a look?" "Eleanor. I like that." "Sure thing," I said, trying not to stare. Pop the hood. Her name was Emily. She was an artist, a painter. She had a small studio a few blocks away. We talked while I tinkered with Eleanor's engine. Turned out to be a distributor cap issue, easy fix. She was funny, smart, passionate about her art. There was no pretense about her, no agenda. She was just real. When I told her the car was ready, she beamed. "You're a lifesaver. How much do I owe you?" "On the house," I said, surprising myself. "Consider it a welcome to the neighborhood discount." She looked surprised, then suspicious. "Are you sure?" "I don't want to." "Positive," I said. "But maybe. Maybe you could let me buy you a coffee sometime?" 2. Discuss Eleanor's future maintenance schedule, of course. Lame, I know, but it was the best I could come up with. Her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled. I think Eleanor would like that. And so would I. And just like that, something new started. Slowly, tentatively. Emily was different. She wasn't Sarah. She didn't try to be. She was patient. She listened. She didn't push when I was quiet or distant. She just was there. She saw the cracks in me, the still healing wounds, and she didn't run. She saw the garage, not as a greasy, dead-end place, but as my passion, my craft. She even helped me paint a cool mural on one of the walls, a roaring engine with wings. She knew about Sarah, of course. I told her, haltingly, one rainy afternoon, over lukewarm coffee. She just listened, her hand covering mine. "She sounds like she missed out on someone pretty great," was all she said when I finished. No judgment, no pity, just acceptance. It was about a year after Sarah had walked out, a year of rebuilding myself and my business, with Emily quietly by my side, that the universe decided to throw in a little plot twist. I was at a supplier's picking up some parts, and I bumped into a guy I vaguely knew, worked for one of those downtown financial firms. We got a chatting, and somehow Sterling Consolidated came up. "Oh man, Sterling's," he said, shaking his head. "Bit of a mess over there lately, huh?" "Oh." I tried to sound casual. "What's up? You didn't hear? Richard Sterling, the CEO? Turns out he was playing fast and loose with investor money. Creative accounting, they call it. More like outright fraud. SEC's all over him. Word is, he's looking at serious jail time. Company's basically imploding." I stood there stunned. Richard Sterling, the master of the universe, the guy who'd stolen my girl with his money and power, was about to lose it all. And get this, the guy continued, oblivious to my internal earthquake, his latest executive assistant, some blonde he picked up from God knows where. Apparently, she was in on some of it, signing documents she shouldn't have. Fed to the wolves, I reckon. Last I heard, she's lawyered up, but it doesn't look good. Probably lose her fancy apartment and everything else. Poetic justice, some might say. Sarah. He was talking about Sarah. I drove back to the garage in a daze. It wasn't triumph I felt, not exactly. It was more like a quiet confirmation that the shiny, glittering world she'd chased had been built on a foundation of lies and rotten wood. It was bound to collapse. A few weeks later, I saw her. I was walking with Emily, hand in hand, on our way to get dinner. And there, across the street, looking lost and diminished, was Sarah. Her expensive clothes looked rumpled. Her hair wasn't as sleek. The spark, that brittle confidence, was gone. She was just standing there, staring into a shop window, looking like the world had caved in on her. Which, I guess it had. Our eyes met for a split second. I saw a flash of recognition, then shame, then a kind of desperate plea. She looked away quickly, hurrying down the street, melting into the crowd. Emily squeezed my hand. "You okay?" I looked at Emily, at her kind eyes, her genuine smile. I thought about the garage, busier than ever. I thought about the mural on the wall, the easy laughter we shared, the comfortable silence. The solidness of it all. "Yeah," I said, and this time, I really, truly meant it. "Yeah, I'm more than okay." Life has a funny way of working out, doesn't it? Sometimes, the things you think will break you, The betrayals that cut so deep, they end up clearing the way for something better, something real. Sarah chased a mirage, a life built on flash and deception, and it crumbled around her. I guess she got her more, just not the kind she was expecting. As for me, I got my garage. I got my peace of mind. And I got Emily, who loves me for the guy in greasy overalls, not the one who can buy her a Bentley. And let me tell ya, man, that's a trade-up I'd make any day of the week. Some engines, you just can't fix once they're truly broken. And some, well, some just need the right mechanic to get them purring again, better than ever before. I like to think I'm one of the latter. And Eleanor? She's still running like a dream.